Plato, the Greek philosopher. Plato, one of the most influential philosophers in Western history, was born around 427 BC in Athens, Greece, into an aristocratic family. His full name was Aristocles, but he became known by the nickname Plato, which means broad, possibly referring to his robust physical build. Plato grew up during the Peloponnesian War, a period of intense political instability in Athens, and was deeply affected by the political turmoil of his time. Plato's early life was marked by privilege. His family was well connected, and he likely received a high-quality education, studying subjects like mathematics, rhetoric, poetry, and philosophy. His initial ambitions were in politics, but his life took a decisive turn after he encountered Socrates, the great Athenian philosopher. Socrates' method of dialogue, questioning, and ethical inquiry profoundly influenced Plato, who became a devoted student and admirer. Socrates' trial and subsequent execution in 399 BC deeply impacted Plato. He saw it as a grave injustice, illustrating the flaws in Athenian democracy and prompting him to abandon his political ambitions. This event spurred his lifelong quest to understand justice, ethics, and the ideal society. After Socrates' death, Plato traveled widely, possibly visiting Egypt, Sicily, and Italy, where he studied with other philosophers and mathematicians. Around 387 BC, Plato returned to Athens and founded the Academy, one of the earliest institutions of higher learning in the Western world. It attracted students from across Greece and beyond, including Aristotle, who would later become another towering figure in philosophy. Plato's Academy became a center for intellectual inquiry, focusing on philosophy, mathematics, and natural science. It operated for over 900 years, marking the beginning of a tradition of organized philosophical study. Plato's philosophical contributions are vast and varied, but he is perhaps best known for his writings in the form of dialogues. In these texts, often featuring Socrates as the central character, Plato explored a wide range of philosophical questions about ethics, politics, metaphysics, and epistemology. His most famous works include The Republic, where he outlines his vision of the ideal state ruled by philosopher kings; The Symposium, a meditation on love; and The Phaedo, which deals with the immortality of the soul. His theory of forms, positing that the material world is a shadow of a higher, more perfect reality, remains one of the cornerstones of his philosophy. Plato's political philosophy was shaped by his disillusionment with democracy, which he saw as flawed and prone to corruption, as evidenced by Socrates' fate. In The Republic, he argued for a society governed by the wisest and most virtuous individuals, philosophers, rather than by popular vote. His ideas about justice, governance, and education would influence political theory for centuries to come. Plato remained active in philosophical teaching and writing for the rest of his life. He made several trips to Syracuse in an attempt to implement his ideas of an ideal ruler by advising the tyrant Dionysius, but these ventures ended in failure and disappointment. Nonetheless, his philosophical legacy continued to grow. Plato died around 347 BC, leaving behind a rich body of work that continues to shape philosophical thought today. His academy persisted as a major institution long after his death, and his influence on his student Aristotle ensured that his ideas would be carried forward and debated for generations. Plato's philosophy, with its emphasis on reason, justice, and the search for truth, remains foundational to Western intellectual history.